First of all, thank you very much to the Chamber of Commerce and the sponsors for giving us the opportunity to be here today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to the Conference Board of Canada, they will tell you that Winnipeg is at the peak right now. We're in a position to basically make sure that our city is truly a city of opportunity and attract investment, which is where we've always wanted to be. If you look at some of the key issues when you're talking to people, crime and safety is obviously right up there, which is why over the past years we've been addressing those issues by creating the Crime Street unit, by basically creating a situation where they have the tools to solve crime with the police helicopter, with the cadet program. And recently I made an announcement about adding 58 police officers, and the announcement was embraced by the Winnipeg Police Association as someone who has a plan and can make it happen, that they actually endorsed me in this campaign. In addition to that, we need to continue to reinvest in our infrastructure. Since being elected, we've increased our investment by 450%. Over the next 5 years, we'll be spending $500 million. That also includes our recreational infrastructure, which to date, since being mayor, $63 million has gone into new recreational facilities, community centers, renovating existing ones, spray pads, spray parks, as well as skateboard parks, and most of our programming for our children. Our children need to have the ability to have some place to go because they are our future. So when you look at what we're basically looking at, crime and safety, infrastructure, recreational facilities and programming, that's the issues that need to be addressed, and that's what the public wants us to do, and that's our responsibility. I want Winnipeg to be a city where your children, my children, and our grandchildren will want to live, work, and play in this city. I want it to be a true city of opportunity. Thank you also very much for having us here today.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you to the Chamber for organizing this event, and merci pour les organisations, le Collège Universitaire de Saint-Boniface and the Council and the CAA for sponsoring this important dialogue for this critical election. I'm running for the mayor of Winnipeg for a couple of reasons. The first is, this is my home, and I love Winnipeg. My husband and I chose to move here 30 years ago because we knew and heard about its incredible, friendly culture, its diverse culture, and its strong, vibrant sense of purpose. But I'm worried about where the city is going. And I don't know about you, but I think we are facing a critical juncture in the history of this city. Crime rates are higher than they've ever been, going up over the last 6 years. Our infrastructure is crumbling. People do not believe that City Hall represents them and their interests. Families are being left out and ignored, and people are feeling that the city is at best, it's stuck in neutral, and at worst, stagnating or falling behind. I think we can do better. I think we can be stronger. I think we can be a world-class city. And my plan for doing that involves 4 different ideas and strategies. The first is to end the years of neglect and start reinvesting in our city. Reinvesting to fix our crumbling roads and sidewalks and fix our community centers so that they are places of refuge and leisure for our families and our young people. I believe that the city has to start a proper urban planning process, beginning with the issues of crime and turning the city around from a culture of crime to a culture of safety. And finally, I believe that we can open the doors of City Hall through proper consultation with people and strategic partnerships like the businesses of the city. We can do better and stronger. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been asked to pose a question to both candidates to sort of kick things off, and I'm going to try and deal with a little bit with current events. I think there's been a lot of commentary recently about the issue of negative campaigning. Negative campaigning is a reality of modern politics, and those of us who commentate on it usually believe or define it as that point at which in the campaign you spend more time talking about the shortcomings of your opponents than you do about your own campaign. Not exclusively, but there's usually a tipping point. I think a lot of people in the room have been paying attention to the issue of negative campaigning. I think they've seen the pamphlets and ads. Some have received phone calls. Some have received more than one phone call. I'd like both of you to deal with the issue, and if you can, acknowledge if you believe that negative campaigning is part of what you're doing, and if you're willing to acknowledge it, maybe explain why it's part of your campaign. And the first question will be answered by Judy.
Thank you. Dan, it's a good question. In fact, if we're ever going to stop the cynicism and apathy of citizens in the electoral process, we have to put forward positive suggestions and ideas. And I have run on the basis of a very clear set of recommendations to guide this city into the next century and to, in fact, create what all of us want, which is a world-class city. So I've put very clear proposals on the table with respect to the budget and how we're going to, in fact, invest again in our aging infrastructure.
You've also raised the issue of accountability since day one, and that
isn't... Yeah, I know, Dan, but you see, in fact, people have raised with me their concerns about City Hall being closed and deals being done in secret without revelation to the people of the city. So my point, my belief is that, in fact, if we want to return City Hall to being open, transparent, and accountable, you have to address the current situation and make commitments for how you're going to change that. And the way I've suggested we do that is actually, let's clear the air on this Veolia deal, which goes for 30 years, which has been negotiated in secret, for which the public has received no information. We owe it to the people of this city to be as open and clear and transparent as possible, and that's the bare minimum in terms of a campaign and in terms of rebuilding the city.
Sam, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. First of all, City Hall is more open and accountable than ever before. That's a statement of fact. Number two, when you talk about this negative campaigning, whatever the case may be, there's an announcement that's made, and what happens, the media comes and asks you to respond. So when the media asked me to respond to an 8% property tax increase over 4 years, which compounded is closer to 10%, my response was, it's the most regressive tax of all. It's the last thing we should ever look at. It hurts the most vulnerable people, people on the working poor and people on fixed incomes. Said that the first time I was asked, and as a matter of fact, when those phone calls are made that you alluded to, it's my voice, it's me speaking to the people. So that's number one. Number two, what you need to do is make sure when there's an announcement, there's some meat in that announcement. You can't just make an announcement and say in 18 months, we'll give you some details. Every single thing that we talk about, we give the facts. I mean, just heard about the fact that we need to take care of our roads. I just said fact. We've increased our capital budget by 450%. I would say your City Hall is addressing that. And on Veolia, for the record, only 4 city councillors voted against Veolia. That means the balance of City Council, who basically represents the people, supported it. It's something that everybody should know. Council is supreme. Council makes the decisions. And I won't even need any more seconds to respond. Thank you.
That was excellent right before it went red.
I'm getting really good at this. Practice.
Marking down an extra point. Our first major